Good morning, class. Today we are having what we refer to as equilibrium concept. We'll be dealing with equilibrium concept. Now, this is what we refer to as equilibrium concept, or the concept of equilibrium. Now, if you look at this concept, what it's telling us, at $3, the quantity demanded, let's call this maybe oranges. The quantity demanded of oranges, 20 oranges were demanded, and then 20 oranges were supplied. In that case, this is our equilibrium price. This is our equilibrium concept. So we refer to this as equilibrium concept. Now, what it means here is that quantity supplied equals quantity demanded. And this equilibrium price can also be referred to as the market clearing price. Market clearing price. Now, market clearing price is very suitable for that, meaning at $3, suppliers brought 20 oranges. At $3, those buying oranges, they bought oranges at $3. So 20 oranges were bought. In that case, the market is cleared. Nothing is left. 20 oranges were supplied or produced, 20 oranges were demanded. At this equilibrium price, which we also refer to as the market clearing price. But this equilibrium can be disturbed. Normally, equilibrium should not be disturbed. What can then disturb this equilibrium? Let's see. There is an increase in price, or there is an increase in demand, and supply stays the same. So that means supply does not shift. So the question here is, find the new equilibrium In other words, this is always our equilibrium, and something happened to the equilibrium. And this is what happened. There is an increase in demand. Increase in demand, but supply stayed the same, no shift in supply. Now the question now, will the new equilibrium price be higher than the original price? If you think the new equilibrium price will be higher, this is what we do. If you think it will be higher, then equilibrium price, you point the arrow up. If you think it will be lower, the arrow points down. Now, will the new equilibrium quantity be greater than 20 or lesser than 20? If it is greater than 20, so the new equilibrium arrow points up. If you think it will be lower than 20, arrow points down. So, if you are given this in a test, you may have answers. Let's say A, B, C, D. Here, equilibrium price stays the same. Equilibrium quantity goes up. B, equilibrium price goes up. Equilibrium quantity goes up. Equilibrium price here. Equilibrium price here goes down. Equilibrium quantity here goes up. Equilibrium price here goes down. Equilibrium quantity stays the same. And E, none of the above. So if you are given this in a test and the question is there is an increase, or you look at that, there is an increase in demand and supply stays the same, then these are the answers. So you look at all these answers. So if you have a problem like this, always draw the equilibrium point. Always draw this diagram. So this diagram now tells us of equilibrium. So you go straight to the question there, or the statement, there is an increase in demand. Increase in demand is always to the right of the original. Always remember, increase to the right, decrease to the left. So this is the right of the original curve. So increase now a new curve to the right of the original. But now we are told that supply does not shift. Supply stays the same. So in that situation, this is our new point of analysis now. This is the new equilibrium now. Now at this point, bring it up here. Now you see that it's higher. Call that $4. That means PE goes up. Now, bring it down here. That could be 40, higher than 20. That means equilibrium quantity also goes up. So if you come and look at the answers here, the answer for that would be B, because equilibrium price went up, equilibrium quantity also went up, and this would be your answer. But again, we can look at another problem. Let's solve another problem. Another problem, there is an increase in demand and also an increase in supply. Now, the same question here. Find the new equilibrium price, PE, and find the new equilibrium quantity, QE. In that situation, you really have to put up another diagram. Always put up a diagram. That makes it easier. Okay, so always start with a diagram, a graph, and let's look at the graph now. The graph here, the equilibrium here again. Okay, always start from equilibrium. You always get it right. Now the question says there is an increase in demand and also an increase in supply. An increase in demand would be here, D1 to D2. An increase in supply will be to the right of the original, S1, S2. So, your new point of analysis now would be where you have S2 and D2. That would be your point of analysis. So, bring it here, call that 40. Bring it here, call that $4. So you can see here that when you have an increase in demand, an increase in supply, equilibrium price, equilibrium quantity, in this case, equilibrium price goes up, equilibrium quantity also goes up. This situation, you may have about 3 different answers. When you are given a problem like this, these are the possible answers you'll get. So, these are the possible answers if you are given a problem where there is an increase in demand and increase in supply. Now, when you look at this answer, if you do it individually, some of you will get this answer, you are right. Some of you will end up with this answer, you are right. Some of you will end up with this answer, C, where equilibrium price goes down, equilibrium quantity goes up, you are right. But you cannot get 3 right answers in any problem. Answer has to be 1. So the most correct answer is this here. D is the most correct. Even though I said individually these are correct, if this is not there, if D is not there, everybody is correct. But you can't have 3 answers in this situation. There has to be 1 answer. So the best answer here is equilibrium price is indeterminate, but equilibrium quantity goes up. Indeterminate here means you could have equilibrium price that goes up, equilibrium price that stays the same, equilibrium price that goes down. But of all of these answers, equilibrium quantity has to go up. This is a situation where you have increase in demand, increase in supply. Now, again, I repeat, this individually, if I ask everyone in class, some of you have this answer, some of you ended up with this answer, ended up with this answer. It depends on the shape of your diagram, the elasticity, the way you draw your diagram, you end up with different answers. So in this situation, we have different answers. But we can't have 3 answers in multiple choice questions. There has to be 1. So this here is the best answer. So this is the correct answer. But some of you, if you have equilibrium price is indeterminate, but equilibrium quantity goes down, that is wrong. Because the quantity you could see, equilibrium quantity would always go up, not goes down. The same problem, if you are given a problem that says there is an increase in demand and also a decrease in supply. So if I am given this problem, an increase in demand, a decrease in supply, this is what you end up with. Let's put another diagram for that. Now, always draw a diagram to be able to answer any of these questions. So we have price. We have equilibrium price here. Call that $3. Price here. So this is equilibrium. But the question now says there is an increase in demand and also a decrease in supply. Increase in demand, that means the demand curve goes from here to D2. but decrease in supply. Now remember, people make that mistake. When you say decrease in supply, they might think this way. No, decrease is to the left of the original. Always remember, an increase is to the right of the original. A decrease is always to the left of the original. So if this is the original, a decrease to the left would be S2 here. So we have S1, S2. Now, where D2 and S2 intersect, this point here, that is your point of equilibrium. So call this $6. Now, at this point, bring it here, call that 40. There's an increase. So you can see here that equilibrium price, you could see here, goes up. Equilibrium quantity, you could see here, goes up too. Now, for a problem where they move opposite direction, increase in one, decrease in the other, let's look at the possible answers that you'll get. Now the possible answers, equilibrium quantity goes up, so this is what you'll have. If I had given you this problem, there is an increase in demand and also a decrease in supply. It's exactly, your diagram should look this way. Increase in demand, decrease in supply to the left of the original. This is the new equilibrium point. You bring it down to the vertical axis, you get your new equilibrium price, which is higher. You bring it down to the horizontal axis, you get your new equilibrium quantity, which is higher. So if I had given you this in the exam, well, some of you may get this answer, again, it's correct. Some of you may get this answer, again, it's correct. Some of you may get this answer, again, it's correct. It depends on how you draw your graph, your diagrams, how the space between your curves. Now, D is the most correct answer. Equilibrium quantity is indeterminate, but equilibrium price will go up. Every one of you should have price going up. It is here that the quantity is indeterminate. Now what it means is that you can have your equilibrium quantity staying the same, equilibrium quantity greater than the original, equilibrium quantity lower than the original. So the word indeterminate covers all. Uncertainty, you are not certain. You don't know whether equilibrium price will go up, go down, but mostly equilibrium quantity, because here relates to equilibrium quantity. So when you draw your diagram trying to solve this problem, you would end up either with this answer, or this answer, and that is why D is the most correct answer. Equilibrium quantity is indeterminate, equilibrium price goes up. So this is the catch. Anytime you are given a problem where there's an increase in demand, increase in supply, or decrease in demand, decrease in supply, where they are moving towards the same direction, always remember that equilibrium price will be indeterminate. But a situation where they are moving opposite direction, increase in one, decrease in the other, always know that equilibrium quantity will be indeterminate. The quantity will be indeterminate. So, when you look at a problem in this situation, always try to draw a diagram. Start from equilibrium and then start to analyze what you are given. Also, if I say to you in the exam, equilibrium price is indeterminate, in that situation, I have answers. I said equilibrium price is indeterminate A. There is an increase in demand, increase in supply. There is a decrease in demand, decrease in supply. Or there's an increase in demand. Now you have to pick the answer where they are moving towards the same direction. For example, if I say equilibrium price is indeterminate, pick the answer where equilibrium price, equilibrium quantity, supply, all move towards the same direction. In other words, there is an increase in demand, increase in supply, or there is a decrease in demand, decrease in supply. In either way, they are moving towards the same direction. But if I start by saying equilibrium quantity is indeterminate, now in that situation, you now have to pick the answer where demand and supply are moving opposite direction. In other words, one increase, the other decrease. Increase in demand, decrease in supply. So when a question starts with equilibrium quantity is indeterminate, pick the answer where demand and supply are moving opposite direction. Now, I'll take out that, let's say, mathematical. Mathematical way of looking at equilibrium. Now, we know equilibrium means quantity supplied equals quantity demanded. That is the concept of equilibrium. Quantity demanded equals quantity supplied. But sometimes we may not be given the price, we may not know what the equilibrium price is, we may not know what the equilibrium quantity is. And then you are asked to find equilibrium price, you are asked to find equilibrium quantity. For example, let's say you are given this problem. Now remember that equilibrium means QS equals QD. So let's say you are given QS equals, this is the problem, quantity supply, you are given that as negative 20 plus 3p. And quantity demanded, you are given as 220 negative 5p. Now, you are asked to find the equilibrium price, to find the equilibrium quantity. So what you do, since the concept of equilibrium is QS equals QD, so negative 20 plus 3p equals 220 minus 5p. You have to equate QS and QD. Since QS is given to you, QD is given to you, you form the equation this way. This QS equals QD. So now you solve for the unknown. The unknown here is P. So solving this now becomes 8p equals 240. Okay. 8p equals 240. We don't know p. So p now would be 240 divided by 8. Now when you cancel that, you have 30. So now you have got your equilibrium price, 30 right there. Now, since you got your equilibrium price, you know what P is, go back and substitute P wherever you find it here. Substitute 30. So in that situation, you now have 90 minus 20, 70. You do the same thing here. Substitute P here, which is 30. Multiply this, 150. 150 from 220, 70. So, your equilibrium quantity now is 70. Now, QS has to equate QD. If you got 70 here and you got maybe 80 here, something is wrong. Because equilibrium concept means QS equals QD. This is the concept of equilibrium. Now let's do one or two more examples. Another example would be QS equals, QS is given as 60 plus 0.04 P, and QD is given as 100 minus 0.01 P. Now, you are asked to find this equilibrium price and also equilibrium quantity. The same thing you have to do. You equate these two. QS is 60 plus 0.04 P, which is same, which equates 100 here, minus 0.01 P. So now we have to solve P. We don't know what P is. So we now come 0.05 P equals equals 40. P equals 40 now divided by 0.05. If you cancel that out, you end up with 800. So we now know that P is 800. Now that you have got your 800, you have to go back to the original equation and substitute 800. Substitute P there. So if you bring in 800 here, now if you multiply that out, 800 multiplied by that, that gives you 32. 32 plus 60, 92. So you have 92 here. Now you do the same thing here. Multiply this by 800. If you multiply that by 800, you end up with, again, you subtract this, multiply that, subtract that from that. So you end up all together, you end up with, let's say 100 minus, you end up also with 92. So you can see here that 92 equals 92. So equilibrium quantity, again, is 92. Equilibrium price is 800. So, any question on this? So anytime, this is a very simple way of solving problems like that. When you are given any problem, even rather than adding and subtracting both sides, all you need to do, this is a simple rule. Bring all the unknowns to the left-hand side of the equation and all the knowns to the right-hand side of the equation. That's rule number one. Now, rule number two, anything that is crossing the equal sign, it has to lose its original sign. If it is negative on this side, when it gets here, it becomes positive. When it is positive on this side, it gets there, becomes negative. So, as long as you cross this sign, equal sign, your original sign before will lose and assume a different sign. Again, if it is negative 0.01p, when it gets here, it becomes positive 0.01p. So that is why positive 0.01p plus 0.004p, it becomes 0.05p. 0.01 plus 0.04, 0.05p. And now this is 60 here. 60 is positive. 60 gets here, now it becomes negative. So 100 minus 60, that is how we ended up with 40. And to find the p then will be 40 divided by 0.05, which is 800. That is how we got the 800, even though it looks very large. Any question on this? So this is the concept of equilibrium concept. The concept of equilibrium.